Jake here for American Trucks, and today I'm taking a look at the Nova Series 5th Gen 2500 G2 style LED projector headlights with the Alpha Black housings and clear lenses, fitting 2009 to 2018 Ram 1500s with factory halogen non-projector headlights. Whether you're just looking for an upgrade or replacement for your stock lights, these Nova Series are an awesome upgrade. They provide you with standout modern styling, full LED technology, some cool tech and OEM-like functions, so they're for sure going to make a perfect upgrade for your Ram. Now, lighting upgrades are almost never a bad idea, and when you can really up the ante with your lighting setup, well, why not do it, right? And an upgrade these certainly are. They look great, especially with that Alpha Black internal housing, but beauty is way more than skin deep. Now, like I mentioned earlier, these are a fully LED setup, so there are no incandescent or halogen bulbs at all. You've got these 4 Ice Cube 3D LED projectors that make up the main beams. So the 3 on the outer edges are going to light up for the low beam, with the innermost one jumping on for your high beams. Now, these are super bright and they throw a really clear, clean beam pattern down the road with a nice sharp cutoff too. Now, on the top and the bottom of the housing, there's also a multi-function LED strip. And this does a number of things, including functioning as your daytime running lights, which can be either amber or white. Now, they function as your turn signals as well, and those are sequential, so you get a little extra on the coolness factor there. And these also feature what they call an activation light, which is sort of a sequential light show when you lock or unlock the truck. It adds that OEM type feel and look. And it's made even better by the fact that these are DOT, SAE, and FMV 108 SS approved, making them fully street legal. And construction is all pretty first rate here as well. Now, the outer housings are made from polypropylene and they feature the Alpha Black inner housings like we talked about earlier, plus you've got the polycarbonate lenses over top. So you get that blacked out stealthy look without having to sacrifice lighting output. Now, the lenses also have an anti-fog agent applied to them, plus another coating on the outside to keep them clear in all conditions and help prevent against fading and yellowing. Inside, these are going to feature Osram Olsen Black flat LED chips for superior light output and longevity. And since they are fully LED, they're going to have a nice, really long lifespan, so you don't have to worry about changing out bulbs. Pricing is about the only detractor here, as these do not come cheap. Now, the set as you see them is going to run you about $1,700, which does put them toward the top of the category. But like with most aftermarket parts, especially lights, you get what you pay for here, and there's a lot of good stuff baked in on top of a great look. So again, if you like that look and you've got the room in your budget, you're going to like these. Installation is going to get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter. It's probably going to take you about 2 hours to complete. Now, these are going to require you to do a little bit of wiring for those daytime running light functions, as evidenced by this one here with the connector on it. But you get all the harnesses and everything else that you need. Again, everything is pretty much set and ready to go for you, including the fuse tap that you're going to need as well. So again, everything is pretty much plug and play. Comes like this right out of the box. So if you're comfortable running a little bit of wiring, maybe doing a power and ground or two, that's all you really got to do with this. But enough talking about it. Why don't we head out to the shop right now and we'll show you how to get this one done.
The tools you'll need for this project are a ratchet, a 10mm and a 13mm socket, a trim removal tool, and you'll also need to source some zip ties. Hi everyone. Today we're installing a set of headlights on our Ram pickup, but first, let's watch a short video on how to uninstall the stock system.
For this install, we are going to have to pull the grill off the front end of our truck to gain access to the headlights. You don't need a whole lot of tools to accomplish this job, and I'm going to walk you through every step of the process. So let's get started. The first step is actually going to be to remove the rad support cover. Ours is missing, and all you'll need is this little clip removal tool to pop the clips out to remove that, and that is going to gain you access to these 4 10mm bolts here at the top of the grill. So I'll use my 10mm socket on a ratchet and pull those out. Once those bolts are removed, you can grab the grill from the front end and just give it a good pull, and it should come right off. The next step is actually going to be behind the headlight, and you're going to gain access to this through the inner fender liner. There's an access window that we can use to get to the back of the headlight, and we're going to be feeling for this white tab here. It has a lip on the bottom of it, and all we have to do is push it up to unlock it. I just need to pull the clip for the access window back, and then I can fold that back out of my way, and then I can put my hand inside and release the tab. Next, once again, using my 10mm socket and ratchet, I'm going to remove the 2 bolts here on the front of the headlight. That'll allow me to pull it out and unplug it from the vehicle. Now I can pull my headlight out and unplug my connectors. Just to give you a little bit of a better visual of the clip that I was referring to earlier, this is it right here, and it is currently in its locked position. By pushing it up, you open up the slot here to allow the headlight to come out.
Now these lights do come with the option of having either white or amber DRLs. Typically they ship from the manufacturer with the white DRLs. Now if you choose, you can have the amber DRLs, and to change that, all you're going to need to do is remove this cap that's right next to the harness for the parking lights and the DRLs. To do that, we'll turn it counterclockwise, lift up on the cap, and you'll find 2 wires in here that are not connected to each other. All you have to do to turn these from white to amber is connect these connectors on the wires and then replace your cap. Now you'll need to do that on both lights, and then you'll have the amber DRLs. Before we can get our new lights installed, we've got a little bit of wiring that we need to take care of first. We've got a power and ground wires here for our DRLs. Plus we've got a fuse relay that needs to be run. And then we've also got the connections for these single wires in the back of these lights that need to be connected. So let's go ahead and get this harness run first so that we can hook up our lights and then get our lights installed. So the first thing is this yellow wire that's attached to the DRL box is not going to be used. So we'll just go ahead and wrap this up so that it stays out of the way while we're doing all the rest of the wiring. So we'll just go ahead and zip tie this together just so we don't have to worry about pushing it out of the way while we're working with everything else. All right, now let's go ahead and get this installed in the vehicle. All right, so what we're going to start with is just laying our power and ground for the lights up here next to the battery, as well as the gray wire for the DRLs. We're going to set those up here for right now. And then you'll notice that we've got 2 wires here. One is a short wire, one is a long wire. The short wire is going to go to your driver's side headlight bucket. So we'll just set that down in there. And then we're going to run the long wire across the front of the truck to the other headlight bucket. Now you can run these and attach these however works for you. We're just going to run it right behind the core support here, like so. And then down underneath this radiator bracket. And down into the headlight bucket area. Now, you can also secure this however works for you. You can zip tie it to this harness that is already run for the factory, or however works for you. We're just going to leave it hanging right now because we're not making this a permanent addition to the truck. But you could always use zip ties and just zip tie it to the harness right here. Now let's go ahead and get the power wires hooked up to the battery. All right, so we've got our red wire and our black wire here. So it's going to go to the positive and negative side of the battery. So we'll use our 10mm socket and loosen up this nut here on top of the battery connector. And then we'll slide the connector underneath the nut and tighten it down. Now we'll connect the black wire to the negative side. So we'll use our 13mm socket, loosen that up, and then we can slide our black wire connector underneath the nut there and go ahead and tighten that down. Now, once we've got that done, then we're going to connect this gray wire that has the fuse tap already attached to it into the fuse box. So you just push in on the locking levers there, lift it up. Now, to connect this fuse tap, what we're going to do is we're going to be removing the F66 fuse, and we're going to plug that fuse into the fuse tap here, and then the fuse tap will plug in where that fuse came out of. So let's go ahead and get that fuse removed. Like I said, and then we'll just insert that into our fuse tap, like so. And then our fuse tap gets installed right back where that fuse came out of. Now you can figure out how you want to route this wiring to make sure that it's secure and out of the way and doesn't cause any interference with anything. We're just going to let it hang right there for now while we get all this hooked up, but you can figure out a permanent solution when you do your vehicle. Now we can connect the red single wire from the DRL harness that we just ran to the single white wire on the back of the light. We just plug that in together, put the insulation over the top of it. Now you're going to notice that there's a yellow wire with a connector coming out of the parking light harness. You can just ignore that because we won't be using it. So now we'll just go ahead and plug in our wiring harness to the back of the light until it snaps into place. And then you can go ahead and push down on the red locking tab to make sure that it stays put. Then we'll go ahead and hook up our headlight. And again, push down on the red locking tab. Make sure it stays. Now we can go ahead and insert our light into the socket. Slide our light into position. Secure that light with the original hardware. Now we'll go ahead and tighten this down using our 10mm socket. Now that our headlight's completely installed, the last thing we need to do is just replace the locking tab down on the headlights to make sure that they stay in place, and then close up our access panel. So we're just going to reach up inside and feel it, because there's obviously no way that we can get a camera in here to show you. So you'll just have to feel for it. Once you find it, slide it down. It'll lock into place. Then we can replace our access panel using the original push pin. And now we can do that same process for the other light. Now once we've got our lights installed, we can go ahead and reinstall our grille. We'll just slide that back into place. and go ahead and secure it using the original hardware. And we'll tighten them all down with our 10mm socket. And finally, we'll reinstall our radiator cover and secure it using the original push pins that are on it. And that completes your installation.
That's going to wrap it up here for our review and install of the Nova Series 5th Gen 2500 G2 style LED projector headlights with the Alpha Black housing and clear lenses, fitting 2009 to 2018 Ram 1500s. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, for all things Ram, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.